Sandra Bishop, and you're watching Thrive. Today I'm here with Johnnie Dent, who is my guest today. And Johnnie Dent is the author of Sugar Boy. How you doing, Johnnie?
Doing real good. About yourself, Sandra?
I'm wonderful. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you guys, Johnnie actually wrote a book, an autobiography about his life growing up here in Cleveland. Johnnie, what inspired you to write this book?
You know what? I deal with at-risk youth all the time, and they used to see me in the suits and the ties, and they would say, you know, Mr. Dent, you don't understand what we're going through. You don't know anything about the streets or anything like that. You're probably from the suburbs. You probably was born with a silver spoon in your mouth.
Okay.
I told him I need to do something to kind of change that thinking a little bit. So I wrote the book, and it's took off ever since.
Wow. So now tell us about, you grew up here in Cleveland, Ohio.
Right here in Cleveland.
And now you grew up in like inner city kind of thing?
All inner city, extremely transitional. I guess you ever heard that commercial that said life comes at you fast?
Right.
That's pretty much how it was for me.
Really?
Oh yeah, everything.
Okay.
Constant movement.
And so what was, you know, this gave you some insight into how the street life is. What kind of experiences did you have as a child or as a youth?
Wow. Well, I would say that it was very interesting. I probably grew up in an environment where most youth, probably today I can relate to them just a little bit. But what happened in the circumstance that I grew up in, there was basically the oldest adult at the time I was born. Well, there was no adult, was 16 years old, a teenage.
Really?
Yeah, I grew up in a teenage environment.
Okay.
So everything
to a teen parent. Your mother was a teenager.
My mother was 15 when I came into the world.
Okay.
Kicking and screaming.
Okay.
And that's how I planned to go out.
Okay.
And basically, the oldest child at that time was 16 in the house. My grandparents, they lived a little bit down the street when I was born. And so whatever you can imagine that happens with teenagers who don't get micromanaged, who give that freedom and that amount of responsibility, that basically is how I grew up.
Now, so you see some parallels with your upbringing and those that you see in the youth, or the youth that are out there that you work with, the problem community.
Absolutely, all the time. I can spot a youth in the crowd. I can tell by their mannerisms, some of the things they're going through. I can tell whether they're introverted or extroverted. It's sort of a skill set that I didn't design, I didn't ask, but I acquired it a long time to be able to just point it out.
Wow. And so now, what kind of work do you do when you're working with teens? What type of work do you do? Is it mostly counseling, or is it mentorship? What is it? Fortunately,
I don't know how to say no to parents, so they get me for everything. Little Johnny, I'll use that. Little Johnny wants to go to a baseball game. His dad's not there. They'll call me for that. Can you just go? Or little Johnny is acting bad and cutting up in school, so can you talk to him and talk some sense into my son? Then we do these real creative group workshops, stuff like that all the time, that basically begin to set some fundamental principles and some foundational things that we can put inside the youth that they can walk through the rest of their life with.
Now, do you think you grew up angry at all about your circumstances?
Absolutely.
Absolutely?
Absolutely. I know I'm shaking my head no, but absolutely. Angry, very confused, didn't understand why we seem to be the poorest people in the world, why I didn't have the relationship that I wanted with both my parents, why basically I had to fend for myself when it came for food sometimes, and why was there a party going on in our house every single night?
Really?
This is the environment. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Don't call me ma'am.
Don't call you ma'am.
That's
a habit.
Funny.
It's a habit.
You know what? I always think that people do that when they're talking to somebody older. I'm not that much older than you.
My youngest daughter is 4, and she's ma'am.
Really?
And she calls me sir.
Really? Oh, isn't that special?
That's my baby.
Oh, okay. Now, how many children do you have?
Okay, and you'll see online when you read my bio, when you read it in the book and things like that, you'll see 6 children. So everybody calls me, oh, wait a minute, I can only count. So they trying to figure out what happened. The first 3 are biologically mine. 1 is undetermined, and 1 is my stepdaughter, and another one is my godson, Isaiah. So that's 6. I don't leave anybody out. I don't say the word step. They're all family.
Okay.
All my children. And then there's the other ones.
What does that mean, undetermined?
Undetermined? We need DNA tests.
Is that Johnny?
Well, Johnny Dent ain't always.
I
I ain't always been saved. I ain't always been in the church. I did have sex before marriage. I plan on having it maybe after marriage too.
Okay.
I mean,
well, good for you.
It's good for you. That's right.
Okay, so now you've got 6 children. You
Yes, ma'am.
came up in this type of environment. Now you're married.
Yes.
And you have like a regular traditional type family, or how does that work for you?
No, we don't have the nuclear family, the mother, the father, the little boy and the little girl in the house with the picket fence. What we have is a blended family. And blended families are always challenging. How would I think, coming from the environment that I came from, that all of a sudden that I could be so fortunate to have that type of family? And while it is challenging, it's very encouraging to know that every now and then you can be a component to something very beautiful if you just stay in there and you hang in there.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, my stepdaughter, my daughter, she attends Toledo University now. And her mother pushed her every step of the way, and I filled in the gaps whenever I was asked to. So I'm very, very proud of that.
So now how did you get rid of the anger?
Writing, speaking,
Mm-hmm.
very therapeutic opportunities that kept coming up for me, being in front of people, wanting to be more a part of the solution rather than the problem, and basically seeing that some kind of way I can contribute. And I think that's what most of the youth really want. They want to know that they fit somewhere, rather than versus just stereotyping them and talking down on them. They want to know that they fit and they can contribute to this society. But if they don't see a way they can mirror themselves and see something better, or see a better day, or see examples that they can relate to, they basically don't do it. They stay away from it.
Okay, so now you've got all this insight now, all right?
I'm the guru.
You the guru.
I'm the guru.
Okay, so now, is there any, like, have you ever been in prison or gone through some things?
5.5 years in the penitentiary. Probably about altogether with youth incarceration, probably about 10 years.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. But
So you were just trying to get rid of that anger? Was it violent stuff, or were you just kind of trying to survive?
Always violence, always has something to do with survival. The last particular incident I got into, I'd like to say it was a time that it had just came. It just came on me. But basically, I got into it with two police officers, Cleveland police officers, and it didn't go well for either of us that night.
Wow.
And I like to say that it's the one, I guess if you have to have a felony conviction, it's the one conviction that every young, angry black man had wanted at some time, and then be able to live and tell about it.
Wow.
But my heart does go out to our law enforcement officials. I do understand that they're not all like that, and they don't treat people like that, but basically that's what happened.
Wow. This is amazing. I am sitting here and listening to this story, and a lot of times I came up as one of those sheltered kids, you know, in the inner city, but basically sheltered. So this is fascinating to me. Hopefully you find it fascinating to you, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk to Johnnie Dent a little bit more about his experiences right after we come back from this commercial. To be a guest on Thrive with me, Sandra Bishop, just simply contact me at Sandra@sandrasaidit.com.